Now, not everything is set in stone just yet, but we did get some clarity into Cael's plans for the starting lineup this season.
You are Locked On Nittany Lions, your daily podcast on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And as always, thanks so much for making Locked On Nittany Lions your first listen and watch every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. My name is Zach Seyko. I'm your host of the show. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. We're talking Penn State Wrestling as Cael Sanderson and select wrestlers participated in Penn State Wrestling Media Day to talk about the upcoming season, and a lot of insight from Cael Sanderson in particularly about this potential starting lineup as multiple weight classes are still up for grabs here. I'd really appreciate a like on this episode, but more importantly, let me know your thoughts down in the comments section about what version of this Penn State wrestling lineup you would like to see based on the new information that we have. So I am starting at 125 and working my way up through the weight classes that do still have open competitions here. At 125, the lightweight, and I thought this was interesting because Luke Lilledahl, you would assume, based on the pedigree that he's bringing in, he is a true freshman, but fresh off of a U20 World Championship, a gold medal, and he's not the starter, at least not yet. Kurt McHenry. Cael Sanderson said, because I asked him directly, I said, is it safe to say that Luke Lilledahl is the starter at 125? And he said, well, no, that's actually one of the weight classes that is an open competition. So it's the newcomer versus the veteran. This is a super senior in Kurt McHenry. And Cael praised him. It gave him a lot of props here looking at the spot in the lineup. However, when I look at this still, this does not dissuade me from believing that Luke Lilledahl is the guy at 125. Lilledahl has not earned anything. I understand that. He's a true freshman. He has to earn his right to the starting lineup. And I get why Cael and the staff are turning this into a competition, because you don't want... And I know for a fact that Luke Lilledahl wouldn't be like this, but if you are that new coming athlete, wrestler, right? Any sport, you don't want your ego to get too big here in this case and just hand something over to them. They have to work for it. And it's no surprise that Penn State has that same standard here. But I also look at it this way. The fact that somebody with Lilledahl's pedigree and what he's accomplished, especially most recently with the World Championships, but just over his time as a younger wrestler, McHenry is probably impressed enough to a point where he's earned a right to contend for this starting spot. So that's why I don't want to completely discount this. However, I believe just based on Lilledahl's accolades and the way that he's been able to not only defeat, but dominate former NCAA All-Americans, champions along the way, Lilledahl is the guy. There's also this, I want to address this possibility too, because maybe Penn State is trying to redshirt Lilledahl this season, and I think there's little to no chance of that because Lilledahl can win a title at 125 now. He's not just a fringe All-American. He is a title contender at lightweight, and as we know from recent history, aside from Braeden Davis, lightweight isn't exactly been good to Penn State wrestling. So Lilledahl, if you have a wrestler that can win at this weight class, and I don't think Lilledahl stays at 125. I think eventually he will bump up to 133. Who knows if that's next year or 2 years from now. However, I don't see Lilledahl staying at 125 forever. So get a title out of him, or at least an opportunity for a title out of him while you can, because lightweight, like I said, hasn't exactly netted the results, especially under Cael Sanderson's reign as it is at Penn State. So Braeden Davis vacated that 125 spot to open up the door for maybe either of Kurt McHenry or Luke Lilledahl. I still think it's going to be Lilledahl here, but it's an open competition per Penn State and Cael Sanderson. At 133, Braeden Davis and Aaron Nagao. This is where we get some clarity. This one looks to be a little more set in stone here because Cael revealed this was something that was a rumor that I couldn't directly address because I don't want to, in the off chance that it's not necessarily true, I don't want to be wrong about that. Aaron Nagao dealing with an offseason injury, and now that is officially confirmed. Cael confirmed that in his press conference. It's not a rumor anymore, so now we can discuss it. And he's also still rehabbing it. He's still recovering it per coach. So it looks like this is Braeden Davis's spot for the season. Nagao, it's unfortunate because Nagao had an awesome season at his time at Minnesota that he was able to use and springboard to Penn State, enter the transfer portal, and thought he would be another lower weight type of wrestler that could net some really good results. And he's just been unlucky since getting to Penn State. Injuries, illnesses, just not being 100%, not being able to perform at his best. And I don't know that Davis stays at 133 forever. I think he's somebody that could maybe bulk up and move to 141 after Bo Bartlett's final season here. That's besides the point here. But for Aaron Nagao, it's just a lot of bad luck at the end of the day. It's not like he's 100, 110%, and he is losing outright in these competitions, or he's just not performing up to standards. He has really been unlucky in this case. But it opens the door. It opens an opportunity for Braeden Davis to move up a weight class and succeed at 133. Now, coming up next, we'll move to 149 and 157. From the sounds of it, positive takeaways from Shane Van Ness as he returns after missing all of last season due to injury. And 157 gets really interesting. It's no guarantee that Tyler Kasak is the guy at that spot. I'll tell you more on the other side of this break. And today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. You get to download the Gametime app because buying tickets to your favorite events should not be stressful. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks, and that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier than before. Gametime Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on incredible seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands and thousands of tickets. I have Gametime pulled up in front of me. You can go to the Gametime app or go to gametime.co, and let's look at some Penn State wrestling tickets for the season opener, the home opener against Drexel, Sunday, November 17th. And all those Gametime picks are already filtered for me. There's a super deal at Rec Hall, section N1L, row 9, all in pricing, so there's no surprise fees at checkout. $49 per ticket if you're just looking for the lowest price on tickets. The lowest price, $27 per ticket with all in pricing included. W3U for the section row E. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create that account and use promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Is Shane Van Ness ready to go? Oh, he's more than ready to go at 149. No restrictions since that season-ending injury from last year. And remember, it was already announced, but I think it's a friendly reminder. Cael brought it up too. Shane's going to wrestle at the NWCA All-Star Classic, so there's no wondering if, is he going to be ready for the season opener? Is he going to be ready for the start, the general start of the season? Yeah, because he is already wrestling in that NWCA All-Star Classic on November 16th. And that's going to be, right, that is a top 5 matchup there for Shane Van Ness. I thought it was interesting, not only, so Coach gave a vote of confidence saying that, there's no restrictions here, like he is ready to go. But I find it interesting, if you go to the Penn State Athletics official website, Kasak is still listed both at 149 and 157. So he's on the roster for both weight classes. That can mean a lot of things. That could mean very little here in this instance. I don't want to go down too much of a rabbit hole because this is how this plays into 157. But what if 157 isn't the spot for Kasak? Are they going to redshirt him immediately, or possibly let him try his hand at 149 again because he succeeded so well in Shane Van Ness's absence? I know that's Van Ness's weight class, and this is just kind of my gut saying, hey, what if this is a really outlier situation that maybe Kasak gets an opportunity to go up against Van Ness? Van Ness is a title contender preseason. Honestly, so is Kasak. Even if you put him at 149, 157, Kasak is a title contender as well. And remember, he went on that impressive run at 149 a season ago when he was supposed to redshirt at 141 to begin the 23-24 campaign. Crazy enough. Let's go to 157 and actually look at it. Tyler Kasak versus Alex Facundo. Alex Facundo making the cut. Cael confirms another rumor. This was something that we had this discussion in the comments section. I thought this was something like, okay, we can speculate about this. Different situation with Aaron Nagao's potential injury, which is now confirmed, but a lineup change that we can definitely discuss and analyze the what if possibility here. And it's reality. Alex Facundo making the cut from 174. It seemed like he was going to be the 174-pound wrestler, but then Levi Haynes bulks up to that weight class, and now you have a battle between Kasak and Facundo that's going to take some time to figure out. Kasak is wrestling at 157 in the NWCA All-Star Classic against Keller of Ohio, but this doesn't count towards his NCAA record, so I don't want to look at this as a glorified scrimmage, but since it doesn't have any implications, because the other point of this is, Kasak is still a true sophomore. He can redshirt in this case. Alex Facundo just took his Olympic redshirt to go wrestle internationally and everything and won Pan Am gold, which again, we'll talk about them head to head in a moment. But Kasak doesn't have that luxury. Only true freshman wrestlers, and I had this confirmed for myself, and I want to pass this to all of you in case you didn't know. Most people do know, but only true freshmen can have that 5 wrestling match grace period before they can utilize the red shirt here. That's not the case for Kasak. Since he went through an actual season, he does not have that luxury anymore. But he's bumping up here. A historical run finish to 3rd place as a true freshman after taking over for an injured Shane Van Ness. And I'll be honest, I'm surprised that Facundo is making the cut here. When we had Jeff Byers on the show previous times, and he talked about Tyler Kasak might not even stay at 149. He has the body to be able to bulk up to 157 potentially, and that's where we are in the present here. So Facundo cutting from 174 to 157 is a little surprising here, but that's not because these wrestlers are going to be extremely close in this competition. This might be the closest battle out of all of them. Talk about 197 in a moment here. Facundo is good. Do not discount the fact that just because he's been away from the lineup, just because he's kind of been an afterthought in this case, because he hasn't been wrestling actively for the Penn State, for the folk style lineup, right? But to go compete internationally, may I remind everyone, and then winning Pan Am gold and beating Levi Haynes, for example, at the Olympic team trials when they wrestled in the same weight class, Alex Facundo is still very, very talented and is certainly better than what he was when he wrestled his first season for Penn State. So Facundo is more experienced. You could make the argument he was the better overall recruit compared to Kasak. So Facundo might be better prepared than Kasak is to this point because of everything that he's done in his wrestling career. Bottom line, it comes down to experience versus actual talent, or if you can combine the two together for Facundo, because Facundo is certainly the more experienced wrestler. Can also make the argument that is Kasak ready to take over at 157? Because the initial plan was for him to redshirt and take over for Bo Bartlett at 141. Things changed. He bulked up to 149 and took over for an injured Shane Van Ness, and now he's at 157. Is that a lot to handle to jump up 2 weight classes like that in a year's time? We'll see. I lean Facundo in this instance. If I had to make a prediction, I think Facundo takes the spot at 157. He's already used his red shirt. It's a little more strategic because Kasak has the red shirt available to him. And at the end of the day, Facundo's experience might be the differentiating factor here, but this matchup is razor thin. If they wrestled off 10 times, 5-5, I seriously think that's how it would go. Now, I want to address 184 pounds, and then we'll get to 197 and heavyweight as well, but for different reasons. 184, Carter Starocci settling into what has been described as the right weight class for Starocci. But in that process, after wrestling for 4 years and winning 4 titles, much deserved by Starocci at 174 pounds, to move up to 184 pounds to what? Is he making room? Not only is he making room for Levi Haynes at 174, because Haynes has now bulked up 2 weight classes to leapfrog Mitchell Messenbrink at 165. But Carter's now bumping Josh Barr. Josh Barr's initial weight class was 184. Does that displace Josh Barr? Well, it seems like he's found a home at 197. But what I'm intrigued about, this is kind of looking further ahead here. It crossed my mind, but I think it's important for the future because Penn State's going to have too many cooks in the kitchen here. When Carter Starachi finally leaves after this season, does Josh Barr return to 184? What about Zach Ryder, who is one of the best recruits in this class? He is currently a true freshman. So you have to consider all of that and juggling that. So that's why we're going to discuss 197 a little more in depth, because it's not just a gimme for Josh Barr. He's looking to go up against somebody that's ready to take over Aaron Brooks' spot, and it might not be the wrestler who you're thinking of. I'll tell you more about it on the other side of this break. And today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet just $5 and you'll get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more. And it's all on the same page where you place your bets. So it's that convenient. It's that simple. You just got to visit FanDuel.com and join today. And the lines are out for Penn State versus Purdue. Let's take a look at them. Penn State football is a 28.5 point favorite, minus 10,000 on the money line. FanDuel is pretty confident that Penn State wins this game. If you're betting Purdue, they're plus 2,200 on the money line. The total is set at 50.5. If you like those lines, you can bet them over at FanDuel.com. And remember, you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Again, that is FanDuel.com. 197 is another one of those weight classes that is an open competition. Penn State will need the next month to decide, are we going to go with Josh Barr or not Connor Mirasola? I thought that was interesting because I really thought Connor Mirasola would be in the running for this, but it is down to Josh Barr and Lucas Cochran. I hope people did not forget about Lucas Cochran. And Cael Sanderson had high praise at his media day press conference for Josh Barr, said that he was developing nicely. He's really grown into 197 pounds. This is a battle that is unknown at this point for a reason. Josh Barr, somebody that has the pedigree, that is coming in with some good accolades outside of the Penn State wrestling room. But Lucas Cochran has bided his time, has done the dirty work, has wrestled up and sacrificed so much weight, and was defeating ranked opponents at heavyweight when he was filling in for Greg Kirkfleet. So I do not look at this as an obvious choice here. As much as I think Josh Barr is going to be the starter at 197, and he's been ranked in the top 25 as that wrestler in the anticipation that he will be the starter, but it's going to be another interesting wrestle off here. Do not discredit Lucas Cochran. He's certainly earned his right to be in this competition. I think Josh Barr has much more potential. It's a matter of who is better right now, though. Josh Barr is going up to Cochran's weight class. Remember, Barr was at 184, and because Carter Starachi's at 84 this season, Barr is now moving up to 197 to Lucas Cochran's weight class. So we'll see how that unfolds. At 285, just want to address it real quick before I talk about Connor Mirasola a little more here. For anybody that was concerned, Greg Kirkfleet is not hurt. Greg Kirkfleet is okay. Everything's all well and good at 285. The reason he opted out of the NCAA All-Star Classic, and it seemed a little bit surprising, but according to Cael, it was based on a family matter. Now let's wrap up with this. Connor and Cole Mirasola, the Mirasola twins, will most likely redshirt. Cael said this directly, that they are a shoo-in to redshirt because of just all of the assets that Penn State has going into this season. Greg Kirkfleet is the undisputed NCAA champion and is most likely going to win another one here as he's returned for his final season. At 197, you have Josh Barr, who's already used his red shirt. You have Lucas Cochran as well. There's no reason to throw Connor Mirasola into that, and I understand that. Now, I made the argument that, hey, Connor Mirasola still might be better than Josh Barr and Lucas Cochran at this point, because I believe that he could have started at 197 this season and would have been a title contender as a true freshman at that weight class. But if you're Cael, why not do what's best for the program, maximize his eligibility, and let both the Mirasola twins develop together? So everybody's a winner here. You have Josh Barr and Lucas Cochran compete at 197. You let the Mirasola twins remain on the same timeline so that one isn't ahead versus the other, because Cole Mirasola is going to wrestle at heavyweight and be the heir apparent to Greg Kirkfleet. But if you redshirt them both at the same time, then they can spend the same amount of time within the program. One's not ahead of the other, Connor being ahead of Cole in this instance, and you get an extra year of development. So now you get to unleash Connor and Cole Mirasola both at the same time at their best for the 4 years respectively at 197 and heavyweight. It's strategic. It's the right thing. Again, Connor Mirasola could wrestle now if Penn State needed him to, but they don't need him to, and this is the correct decision for this upcoming season. That's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Nittany Lions, talking some Penn State wrestling. Again, let me know your thoughts down in the comments section, your predictions or what you would like to see from the Penn State wrestling lineup this season. Please leave a like on it. I'd really appreciate it. And if you're not already, become an everydayer. Subscribe to Locked On Nittany Lions on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts for the latest conversations around your favorite Penn State sports teams. And with the season starting in just a matter of days, we'll have more coverage around this Penn State wrestling team. And again, thank you so much for making Locked On Nittany Lions your first listen and watch every single day. Now, for your second listen, you got to check out Locked On Big Ten with host Craig Sheeman. Everything Big Ten related, from Penn State to Ohio State and Michigan, and all the newcomers from the Pac-12. There is not a single ounce of news or analysis that Craig Sheeman will not talk about when it comes to the Big Ten. Everything and everything in between. And that's why it's called Locked On Big Ten. It's available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts, and it's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.